When we can collectively share our ideas, we can just grow that much faster and that much more successfully in what we do.
It's very different in United States, knowing the laws, how to pay your taxes, how to get your paperwork done.
But what you can't quantify, but is certainly one of the most important pieces of the work we do is that confidence building.
We don't have the answers. I don't have the answers, but we can together bring together the right researchers, the right corporations, the right people, boots on the ground folks, right, to be able to do something big. It's the listening, it's the caring, and it's the belief that we want to leave our community better than how we found it.
So as a community, we need to come together and really address this issue. Tomorrow is another day. It's going to be better.
You don't have to be a subject matter expert. You just have to have a willingness to listen, to learn, to be flexible, and to want to help out.
I appreciate your optimism, but also kind of those pragmatic things that we can all do to support. And think it comes back to what everyone's talking about, which is like community and connection is everything. So, the theme of today's conversation is about economic mobility and how we care for our communities. And each of your organizations are really key pillars in this community. And you touch on economic mobility and care in various ways. So, I'm really excited to kind of dive into how each of you focus that in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And so let's start with you, Liz. Economic mobility is really kind of a key focus at Emerging Prairie. And I'd love to kind of learn a little bit more about how you bring that to life in your work, and why that's so important to you all.
Yeah, at Emerging Prairie, I serve as our director of experiences and events, and so we create these moments to energize communities. And so when we can energize communities, whether it's through a conference like 10X Fargo or Startup Brew or Prairie Capital Summit or anything that we do with Grand Farm, it's about bringing people together to innovate, bring change, do something new, bring together the community, because when we can collectively share our ideas, we can just grow that much faster um, and that much more successfully in what we do. So it comes back to energizing that community.
And touch a little bit on like those different, you know, the farm, you have your kind of entrepreneur meetups, and then you have larger kind of thought leadership pieces. I'd love for you to just kind of put a little bit more information so that people can understand what is Emerging Prairie.
Yeah. So Emerging Prairie, I kind of see it as an umbrella, right? So Emerging Prairie is the umbrella organization where we focus on supporting entrepreneurs, is really where our core was, still is. And so when we support entrepreneurs, our community can grow that much stronger, that much faster. And when we're creating new things, we get to do bigger things together. We have Grand Farm, which is focused on agriculture and technology, and where that can come together to do the big things in agriculture, because we want to feed the future, feed our families, and to do that through agriculture. Um, and then we continue to just bring together the right people for the right conversations at the right time. We don't have the answers. I don't have the answers, but we can together bring together the right researchers, the right corporations, the right people, boots on the ground folks, right, to be able to do something big. And we get to do that with agriculture and technology, and just continue to be built in those connections.
It's fantastic. Thanks for giving it a little bit more light. And Fowzia, the Immigrant Development Center, right? The work that you're doing is really focused on immigrants and their experience with helping to find gainful employment and really get all the things that they need to live a life of thriving. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the work that you all are doing and how that supports, the population that you serve.
Immigrant Development Center started in 2003, and it's focused on working with entrepreneurs, giving them the tools that they need. Because of the new Americans, they come with a language barrier and understanding to open a business. It's very different in United States, knowing the laws, how to pay your taxes, how to get your paperwork done. Our organization focused on that, and also business incubating, because of the need of our community. And we created also a micro lending path that's not a lot, but it's small to start them. Um, there is a lot of studies that show the immigrant community are the fastest growing businesses in United States, and also it's very healthy to have a future, a hope after coming to another country, not understanding a lot, but you have a place to go, and then you can start your business. It gives people who have better income have long life also. It comes in full circle for a human being when they have something to do, something to hope for, something to go after. Um, and so for us being new in this community, we really needed a guidance, a way to understand the business world and what it takes to start a business. And that's how the Immigrant Development Center came about. It was created by folks who are all new Americans. Um, and uh, and they chose me to be their executive director, and I have been running this project for so long, and we have been very successful too. There is projects that we have done in Main Avenue, um, creation of the International Market Plaza, international food, all those surrounding businesses, and we are keeping this going, and it's because of the community and the support we get from the community.
What I love so much about this area in Fargo is how much is focused around entrepreneurship. I think if you're not from this area, you wouldn't know that like there is such a thriving small business community here, and there's a real focus on I remember learning on Main Street like you really can't have a chain. I think that they want you to be a small business in that area of the town, and I think that's really beautiful. I grew up in a really small town in Southern California, and it was like that, I still go back and shop at, like, the little boutiques when I'm in town, and people are always like, "Ooh, where'd you get that?" I'm like, "Mm, this little boutique in Redlands." But I love it because it is such an important part of, um, small communities and creating ways and for people to have pathways to start their own businesses and even know where to start. Um, and Julie, for you at YWCA, I think we know it so much of like people come in crisis, right? And you help them through crisis, but then you don't actually stop there. You kind of continue on to support their next steps and the transitions that they need to make. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about, how you approach that kind of care and support for those that you serve.
Yeah. YWCA Cass Clay, we're best known for providing shelter. We do provide the largest shelter for women and children in North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. But beyond that, we offer a full continuum of housing and empowerment services, including 97 units of transitional and permanent supportive housing, as well as wraparound supportive services that help empower women physically, emotionally, and financially. So, while we're best known for that shelter piece, that's just the start. And that's really where we do our economic development work and support the community. We start by breaking down those crisis barriers. So when a woman comes to YWCA and she's just been assaulted, or she's been living in a power and control relationship for a number of years and has been told she's worthless and can't do things, or if a woman comes to us to our shelter in the middle of the night with just the clothes on her back and a child in her arms, that journey to financial stability or employment can seem like a really long way. So we start by breaking down that initial barrier by providing the shelter and the housing, creating the foundation from which women can build. We also build economic pathways through our education and employment program that we provide. Really, it's a job readiness for the individuals that we're serving, the women who are coming out of difficult situations. And so on site, we provide a variety of courses in, soft skills, or I like to think of them as essential skills: communication, interpersonal relationships.
Soft skills are essential skills.
That's right. I agree. And in addition to that, also programming on, how do you write a resume in today's world and best interview for a position that you want? So our staff teach those classes, but also we engage volunteers in the community to provide those job readiness courses. Also, volunteers help us provide financial literacy to the families that we're serving, as well as individualized coaching to meet them where they're at. And so really beyond the foundation of shelter and housing is that education and employment program and supportive services to help women recover and rebuild financially.
It's powerful. Um, I had an experience at a family shelter when I was a small kid, and I know how, really far and few between full family shelters are. Like, it's very difficult, and you're trying to maintain this, level of normalcy for the entire family unit, especially for small children. And so being able then to have these extended services to really help create stability for those families is so meaningful. I know I'm a product of seeing the benefits of that. And so all of us know in the nonprofit space that when we are listening to our communities, we tend to thrive as an organization. And we've worked with really hundreds of nonprofits, and we find the ones that are most successful in terms of their impact are the ones that are really kind of listening and developing programs and doing work that is reflective of what their communities are saying that they need. And so this one I can kind of start with you, Fowzia, when we're looking at the work that you're doing, what are you hearing from those that you serve in the immigrant community about their specific needs, and how are you all responding to that?
So Immigrant Development Center is like one-stop shop where we developed a lot of projects because of listening to our community. We do hold once a year listening session, and one of the projects that we add into our work, it's called Driving to Success. And so a lot of new American women say, look, mans can receive their driver license faster than us. We don't have the support system. We don't have, the trainings that we need. We also, when family are teaching us how to drive, they scared us or yelling or something. So we want to be free. And so we communicated with our local funders and said, hey, this is what we are hearing, and it's part of the economy development we are doing. Is the wraparound services because we want this, community members be able to go to work, be able to go to their businesses. No Americans are so fast to start business, even though they don't have the money. They will try their best if they know how to sew, if they know how to knit. They will just come if you give them a chance. So it makes our work easier to listen to them and ask what they really, what's going on in the community. And it helps our work, makes our work easier too, for us to communicate to the funders and say, hey, this will make our work, uh, you know, uh, to have females have power in their own house, because the cultures that we come from sometimes women are not treated as equal as how American culture do. So we tend to help them understand and give them the opportunity and the tools they need.
Wraparound services are so powerful, especially when you've already built trust with the community that you're serving. It's easier to then say, what else can we do, instead of sending them maybe to another organization that then has to gain and build trust with a constituent. Although I know in this work, we're always collaborative because well, rising tide lifts all boats and we need to be. But thanks for sharing. Julie, when you look at YWCA Cass Clay, you serve really a wide variety of constituents, including women that have experienced domestic violence. When you are when you all are thinking about your programmatic work, how are you taking into consideration some of these different lived experiences?
Yeah, you're right. We help women regardless of their age, their background, where they're coming from, if they're coming as a result of domestic violence or if they're chronically homeless. So we really need to listen to all that we're serving, and hear it direct from them, from their lived experience in their own lives, as well as from our team members who are working directly with the folks that we're serving, because they're walking alongside them on their journeys. So we know that that's the best information available, and that's where we should go. When I think about the programs that we offer at YWCA, we've been in the community since 1906. So we've been evolving and adapting our programs to remain helpful to those we serve for a long time. And so we continue to do that. And the programs that we provide today have all grown out of barriers that the women we serve have encountered, needs that they've identified or that our staff have identified, or our partners in talking about collaboration. Having been in our community a long time, we work with a lot of different partners. And so we work collaboratively to identify gaps and either refine our programming or develop new programs. And so we've been doing that as an organization for a long time, and adapting and meeting the community needs, based on what we're hearing from those that we're serving.
It's fantastic. Um, Liz, Emerging Prairie is, I mean, you are like a figurehead in this community, and you're so deeply ingrained with the businesses and entrepreneurs in this area. How do you all go about listening from really vast different types of sectors, and then building programs to be reflective of that need?
We're always asking questions, right? We're always asking questions and bringing people together. It's what it comes back to, right? So what are the needs that we have within the community? And then how can we either help fill those gaps or recognize who else in the community could fill those gaps? So I think about Emerging Digital Academy. And so this is our 20-week boot camp that we have. We have a part-time program going right now, and it was developed to upskill individuals in our community across the state in software development because there was a shortage. Technology is booming, as it always is. And so how can we create and develop some of that student workforce or students to then go into the workforce? When I think about Grand Farm, right, we're bringing people together to help solve the problems that growers and farmers are having. I may not know that answer, but I know that there's 10 other people in my brain and my Rolodex and people that may have those solutions. And how can I bring them together into a room? Um, Emerging Prairie isn't gonna come in and try to be the next best coffee shop in downtown Fargo because there's amazing coffee shops. That's not a gap that our community has. And how can we utilize those community resources to continue to build the communities that we do? Uh, and when people come into our space, how do we make them feel like they matter, right? How do we bring in nonprofits? How do we bring in the corporations? How do we bring in everybody together to address those gaps, build the community, to help solve the problems?
Yeah. Caring for and uplifting our community often goes further than just kind of standard programming. I think we know that in this sector, sometimes you have needs that are kind of offshoots. And so I want to dig in a little bit to how each of you are caring for kind of neighbors and our community. Starting with you, Julie. In reading about YWCA Cast Clay, well, you've kind of learned that you have goals to like end racism, empower women, promote peace, justice, and equity. Really big, lofty goals. So how is that kind of just interwoven into the work that you're doing, and how are you finding places to kind of better adapt services to have that in mind?
In all that we do, we keep those ideals in mind that you just talked about, whether it's a program about that we're working to improve racial equity or through our shelter and housing programs. We keep all of those goals in mind across our work. And really, being there for the community, uplifting our community for us means being there for women and children when no one else is in those times of trauma or crisis or fear, and showing up for women and helping them work towards their goals. And by doing that, we're helping our neighbors and also uplifting our community. So that's been our approach to delivering services, uplifting our community, and supporting the work that needs to be done.
How does like helping those that you serve with like confidence? Because I think when you have experienced trauma, or you're in crisis and you have to go to an organization to seek support, that can take a hit on our confidence. And we've met before. You talked really eloquently about dignity. So I don't know if you could just share a little bit more about how you all kind of support those really, because that's like a skill building book as well.
You've really hit the nail on the head. We talk about all the classes we've offered and the sessions of case management and all of the different components, but what you can't quantify, but is certainly one of the most important pieces of the work we do is that confidence building. The women that we serve have often been told that they're worthless. They've experienced things that many of us can't imagine. And so having an individual when our case managers are advocates who walk alongside them really is the secret ingredient. Being that resource for them, helping them get some wins and to rebuild the confidence, someone to believe in them. I'll never forget the story of a woman that we served a few years ago who she herself had been served at Sanford. And she really had this goal of supporting her family. She has 5 children and she wanted to get her foot in and become a CNA at Sanford. And she was, intimidated to even apply. And Sanford Health is our, a large employer in our community, employ, thousands of people. Um, and for me, wouldn't have occurred to me to think that I couldn't apply for, an entry position. But this woman, that was absolutely a barrier for her. And so for having our team members support her, encourage her, and not just once, but it after women have been through a trauma, it takes a lot to help rebuild that confidence. But cheering her on, we hear that, I mean, every week about, um, of all the things you did, it was believing in me that really made the difference.
Mhm.
That is the game changer. But it doesn't happen overnight. And people we all have setbacks in our lives every day. And so again, being that resource when those setbacks happen, because we know they will, um, really being that cheerleader, the coach, that go-to person. We know that the people we serve are often with us because they don't have a support system. Otherwise they'd be with those individuals. So we hear it all the time that, you're the first one who has believed in me or you've told me I can do something. And it's rebuilding that confidence that really is the game changer.
Um, there's just so much there, right? Because we all need someone in our corner,
Yeah.
like cheering us on and being a champion, and that is the game changer for so many people, and we don't always, but sometimes we could take that for granted.
Yes.
Why can't they just get a job? Why can't they just do I mean, it takes a lot. Have you ever wanted to hire someone that comes in with their head down, shaking, kind of stuttering, not really knowing what to say, being unsure of themselves? It's harder, right? To really get past those pieces so that you can say, I believe in myself.
Mhm.
And oftentimes it starts with someone else believing in you first.
You're exactly right, and you were talking about that dignity piece. We say that all the time as we're, seeking donations of shampoo or, deodorant or whatever the case might be, and we talk about restoring dignity because not only do the women we serve, they've experienced, trauma, they've, been abused, but also thinking about those components, but also just going out the door the next day, you don't believe in yourself, and now you don't have those basic needs items. So when we talk about people donating things like basic care items, you're really helping give someone the confidence to smile or
Mm.
to show up in clothes that they can feel proud of because they've been donated now. And so they have an appropriate thing to wear and it gives them that confidence. It's all those pieces. And you're right. I've been fortunate to have a family that supported me, encouraged me, but that certainly isn't the case for everybody. And so when there's judgment about, why people do things or don't do things, at YWCA, we really try to meet people without judgment because we all know everybody's story is unique
Mhm.
and we haven't all had the same opportunities. So we want to be those people in women's corners to help give them the confidence to do whatever it is they want to do.
Beautifully said. Liz, collaboration is such a central theme for all things Emerging Prairie. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how do you encourage collaboration and partnership amongst the business and entrepreneurship community here?
Yeah, I think there's countless ways that we do it, but one, it comes down to listening, right? If we can be present and have someone else tell us, what is your story? What is going on? How can we best support you? What are the needs that you have? We're always in the back of our brain thinking, ooh, this person can connect here. It's kind of like fun little matchmaking. Ah, but seeing those moments then happen at our weekly event called Startup Brew, right? So each week out of 40 weeks out of the year, we do Startup Brew where folks come in. We had 1 to 2 entrepreneurs each week who share their story. And at the end, the last person that we always ask is, your community is here. We have them look around the room. We say, your community has shown up for you. What is one thing that we can do as a community to support the work that you are doing? Um, and the entrepreneurs will share whatever it is that they have going on. And then you kind of start to hear it's like little whispering in the crowd. Ooh, what can we do? What can we do? Um, and then big things start happening, right? There's some conversation that happens. There's some connection where they're like, I might not be the right person, but I know that you need to be this person. That comes from our team, but then it also becomes contagious in the community where people want to help others. They want to connect to this resource, to this guide, to this financial opportunity that someone might have. And so we do that within our team. And it is, I don't know, it's the listening, it's the caring, and it's the belief that we want to leave our community better than how we found it. And we want to create the community that we want to live in. And so when we can do that, when we count ourselves into being part of the community, it just allows you to be aware of what's happening. It allows you to see those connections, see who can help who can just dive into the conversation. Um, I think that's just really powerful.
Yeah, and it's often underrated, I think, because in the nonprofit space, it's like, okay, like, how are we talking about impact? Like, what's the thing that you've carved out that's just your own? And a lot of the work that you all are doing is in amplifying and supporting the work of others, which deeply resonates with us at Six Degrees because we do the same thing, but for nonprofits. And we always say, like, we're not the experts in this work, right? We're the experts in helping people to swivel their necks, to pay attention to the work that's being done. And we want to find ways to continue to, increase impact and reach with these organizations. And it's so critical because when you come alongside them in that way, it's easy to listen and say, what do you need? How can we help? How can we partner? And there's so much power in networks. And we see this in like mentorship and people with, getting job opportunities. We're talking about economic mobility, right? So much of it is like who you know. If you come from a family that doesn't have these types of ties, it can be really daunting, right? So it's important to have organizations that can help prepare you and also connect you. So yeah, I absolutely love that. Fowzia, when you talk about your work at the Immigrant Development Center, um, so much of what you're talking about is around instilling dignity as well. And, I'd love for you to talk a little bit around the financial literacy piece. We talk a little bit about, not knowing how to start an organization or a business, but there's the financial piece too when immigrants are coming across and into a new place and setting up a new life. And I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit more about the work that you're doing in that space.
Yeah, so with the financial literacy trainings, we connect with local banks. We work with Gate City Bank. We work with other banks too to come in, and we provide. That's also making sure we collaborate with what is in the community rather than reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
So what we do is we work with different banks and schedule a date so that uh, for somebody who's new in this country, first they will make every kind of mistake, taking a credit card for no reason, just stopping.
Subconscious.
Yeah, right? You know, so we talk about, how to keep your credits, because that's also it's part of your future when you want to buy a house, when you want to own a business. Banks go about your credits. So, financial literacy training is one strong key of our work. Also, when we are doing the entrepreneurs training, we collaborate with M State and other organizations. They also have implemented the financial literacy training in there. It helps. It teaches how to keep a budget, how to understand credits, how to understand percentage that they charge, some of the credits that they offer you right away when you come to America and you don't have credit. it's like 28% interest. So we teach them to be careful of taking any, and also, the low income families, they always tend to go and get some small loan from, small entities where they charge double of what the loan is, um, payday loan example.
Sure.
And they take advantage of low income family because, when you want to pay your electricity and you will take a 200 loan, they'll charge you 400 by the time you are done with them. So we teach them. There is other organizations in our community who have small loans. For example, in Moorhead, they have an organization that gives a loan from 500 to 1,000. So we kind of combine all the information they need to make sure they don't fall on those mistakes, because sometimes it's hard to uh, pay back all that money, and then it will cost you your credit.
Oh man, your girl was stuck into checking the cash thing from like 22 to 24. I just could it was like I had paid my way through school. I got my first kind of full-time job. I thought I made it. They gave me a company car. Like, no, I did not make it. I like signed an apartment that I couldn't afford. I was living way above my means. I didn't have anyone to taught me about financial literacy. So I so know that. And my husband was told when I first met my husband, we were that was I guess not when I first met him, when we got more serious and we were looking to buy a house, um, they ran his credit and I was like, "Oh my god, you have like a 400. What happened?" And he's like, "Well, nothing. Like I didn't have a credit card." I was like, "What do you mean you don't have a credit card?" He's like, "My parents told me credit cards were bad." And I was like, "When did they tell you that?" He's like, "When I turned 18. So I didn't get a credit card." And I'm like, "And they never fixed that." I get what they were trying to do, but you are now 28. You have never had a credit card. So it delayed us buying a home for a little bit of time. But I mean, this is really something we should advocate to, you know, teach it in schools. We need to have like every kid needs to have financial literacy. That was just my shout out to the cameos, right? When we have change makers like all of you joining us, you want to leave the last question for a time for you to be reflective on what advice or tips you would give to someone that was thinking about, in this case, economic mobility, right? Organizations or supporting organizations that are really caring for people in their communities. Recognizing not everybody gets the gift of being in the lovely Fargo-Moorhead area of the country. We'll start with you, Liz. Uh, for those that are interested in the type of work that you all are doing at Immersion Prairie. Our goal is to inspire people to say, "What can I do? Because there's something I can do in my community that's maybe smaller." Where would you guide them in starting?
Whenever we are making a decision in our organization of, are we going to do this? Are we not? Whether it's new initiative, big project, new events, we go back to our mission. And our mission is energize communities. If we can say, yeah, this is going to energize communities, we move on to our values. We try to be bold. We move together. We think holistic. We learn fast. Sometimes we're like, I don't know how this is going to go, but you just go for it, right? Um, and so we go through that. And for us, if we can answer yes, and we can say, hey, we're going to make a decision. And if we're aligning to our values, we're going to go. Um, and that's how we start. And whatever happens is what happens, and as long as we were curious, we had good intentions, and we were doing it to better the community and energize the community, we go for it. Um, and so that's the advice that I would give anybody looking to do change in the world. Look in your community, who and what is it you're wanting to impact, and how to do that is to if you're moving forward with the right intention and that belief of, okay, this can do good. This can be something that is going to have that impact to energize communities, whatever level that is, right? The community can be your family. The community can be your neighborhood. You want to throw a block party? Heck yeah, let's go for it. Believe in it. Go for it. Do it. Your community needs it. The wild, crazy ideas are the ones that
make a big difference.
Mhm. I mean, what I hear is like we also are maybe too afraid to fail,
Yes.
right? Like fail hard. Yeah. Like if you're doing a measured kind of evaluation of the things you care about, what's important to you, like you said, energizing community, bringing people together, um, then maybe you don't hit the mark on the first go around, but you've learned something. You brought someone together, right? There's something that can be. It's a stepping point. And so encouraging that. I love that. Julie, now YWCA Cast Clay is obviously here and local, but it's such a brand, right? And there's so many across the country. I don't even know how many in total, but I'd love for you to share a little bit like how can people get involved with your organization? You touched on so many things as a part of your programming from resume support and other types of activities and kind of helping those that are facing crisis and in transition. So, what does that look like if someone wanted to get involved?
I'm glad you asked. Across the country, there's nearly 200 YWCAs. So YWCA Cast Clay is one of nearly 200 associations, but we have local boards and meet the needs of our communities differently. So here locally, there's lots of opportunities to engage with our organization. As you mentioned, um, reach out to us. We want to hear from you. We couldn't do the work that we do without our volunteers and supporters. So from teaching classes on a variety of topics, whether it's something you do in your day job, if you are a banker who wants to help with budgeting, awesome. Or if you have a totally different day job, but you're passionate about um, painting, we need those classes for the women that we're serving as well as a stress relief. So there's lots of opportunities to engage in that way. But also, more than half of the people we serve at YWC are children. And so there's lots of opportunity to engage and support kids that we're serving, working with our Study Buddies kids, which is our after school program, going on field trips, outings, being a kind of a constant adult presence for them. Of course, we have events too in our community that have been around for decades. So we need lots of great volunteers to help us with our Woman of the Year event and our Chocolate for Change event. And so you can serve on a committee.
Chocolate for change.
Chocolate for Change
Love the name.
coming up. September 4th, you should come on back to town. Um, and so, give us a call. Go to our website, ywcacastclay.org. There's so many different ways to engage. Also, leadership roles on our committees, on our board. We couldn't do the work we do without those volunteers or have the level of impact we have without those volunteers and supporters. And so I just encourage folks to pick up the phone. Um, as we've heard, you don't have to be a subject matter expert. You just have to have a willingness to listen, to learn, to be flexible, and to want to help out because we know all of these pieces, whether it's the volunteer who manages our hygiene closet and can tell us how many weeks of deodorant we have available, or whether it's someone who serves on our finance committee helping us, with our reviewing our financials and looking at our investments. We need everybody. And so we'd love to hear from folks who are interested in the things that we care about because we'd love to engage with them and have their support in the work that we're doing.
I love about you just shared, Julie, dozens of ways that someone can support you all. How once did you even ask for money?
Mm.
Which is like, I will do that plug. Everybody also needs financial support, right? Sponsorships and other types of things that major donor gifts. There's so many different ways that you can give, but to your point, there are lots of ways we can give of our time and talents.
Nice.
And that is a really wonderful way to kind of dip a toe and get to know an organization as well. And then decide, like, yeah, maybe I do want to commit some of my financial resources to continue this work because I'm seeing it up close. So thanks for sharing, uh, Fowzia. So many people really across the country have a heart right now to help support the immigrant community. And they're needing to know how and why. And for those places around this country that don't have an immigrant development center and folks like you all that are really coming alongside them, what are some of the tips, ways that people can support those that are coming into their community and starting a new life?
I encourage people to really look the resources around them. The Global Refuge is the resettlement office. Organizations like us, grassroots organizations, we came together as a coalition to address immigration issue right now. People who had humanitarian visas, their visas is expiring. So we are working on fundraising and kind of addressing some of the issues, but we cannot address the whole. So as a community, we need to come together and really address this issue. And there is a lot of you know people are scared for their life. They don't know what is the future holding. You know, they had a job yesterday, today they don't have anything because their visas expired or they have some immigration paperwork that's in process. So I ask the whole community to really come into our rescue this time. It's bigger than us. It's a sad time. It's a very tough time, and I know our community. They are very hard workers and tenacious people. They will come through this, but it's not only the immigrant organizations, but I am also I have seen a lot of different organizations who came together and trying to address and fundraise and make sure we all survive through this test that we are going through, the immigration issue in particular in our area. The good thing is we live in a small community, and so when we support each other, we know each other. Even the new Americans, they know everybody, so we are very interconnected. That's what will save us. The way I'm thinking through this hardship. But there is a lot of groups who are doing a great job. We just finished a good fundraising that will help uh, anybody who have immigration issues. We will be able to support their cost of having a lawyer, and it's the paperwork and all that stuff. In particular, with the Haitian community and the Ukrainian community, we are planning to really come through and really work with them and make sure they have all the um, opportunity and the resources that they need in our community. And this community is very loving community. I mean, I have had all my children here and I have been supported and as an African woman, and I survived. And so I tell them, hey, tomorrow is another day. It's gonna be better. So I'm hoping this will work out itself, you know.
I appreciate your optimism, but also kind of those pragmatic things that we can all do to support. And think it comes back to what everyone's talking about, which is like community and connection is everything. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me in the Impact Lounge conversations that connect us. This was a really powerful conversation, and we're just really honored that you all spent some time with us uh, today. So, thank you.
Thank you.